The night rain poured like it was trying to wash the city's secrets into the gutter, when Daniel realized something was wrong. His boss, the powerful and always perfectly composed CEO of the company, could barely stand on her feet outside the restaurant where the annual corporate dinner had just ended. Everyone else had already left in luxury cars and loud laughter, but Daniel stayed behind, holding his worn jacket tighter around himself as he watched her sway under the streetlight. He was just a warehouse supervisor, a single father who rushed home every night to his 6-year-old daughter, and yet in that moment, the responsibility of another fragile human being fell onto his shoulders. He never imagined that this one small act of kindness would change his life forever by morning. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet heroes who do the right thing when no one is watching, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories like this one to people who need them. Daniel's life had been shaped by loss long before that rainy night. His wife had died 3 years earlier after a sudden illness, leaving him alone with a child and a heart full of unanswered prayers. Every morning, he packed lunch for his daughter, walked her to school, and then took 2 buses to work at the company warehouse where he lifted boxes until his back burned. He never complained. He believed dignity came from effort and that his daughter deserved a father who never gave up. His boss, Eleanor, was known for her sharp mind and cold professionalism. She wore success like armor and rarely noticed the workers beneath her office floor. That night, however, the armor cracked. Alcohol had made her vulnerable, and loneliness clung to her like the rain. Daniel saw not a CEO, but a tired woman who looked like she had nowhere safe to go. He helped her into a taxi and gave the driver her address, which she struggled to remember. When they reached her apartment, Daniel carried her bags, guided her to the door, and made sure she was safely inside. He did nothing more than what his conscience demanded. He did not enter her home. He did not ask for thanks. He simply waited until the door closed and then walked back into the rain, thinking only about getting home to his daughter before she woke up frightened by the storm. That night, he returned to his small apartment soaked and exhausted, yet strangely peaceful. He did not know that Eleanor spent the entire night restless, haunted by shame and confusion, trying to remember the face of the man who had protected her dignity when she had lost control of herself. The next morning, Daniel arrived at work early, just as he always did. His shoes were still damp, and his hands smelled faintly of detergent from washing his daughter's uniform. He stacked boxes and avoided eye contact with the executives walking past him. He assumed the incident would be forgotten, just another invisible act in a life full of them. But inside the top-floor office, Eleanor was not the same woman who had left that restaurant the night before. She stared at her reflection, stripped of makeup and confidence, remembering how helpless she had felt. She had built her career by never relying on anyone, yet a stranger had carried her through her weakest moment. Shame mixed with gratitude, and something deeper began to stir inside her heart. She asked her assistant to bring Daniel to her office, not knowing exactly what she would say, only that she needed to understand who he was. When Daniel entered the executive office, the world felt too quiet. The windows were tall, the furniture expensive, and the silence heavy. Eleanor looked at him differently than she ever had before, not as a worker, but as a human being. She asked him one simple question that changed everything inside him. Why had he helped her when he had nothing to gain? Daniel did not answer with pride or anger. He spoke about his daughter, about how he wanted her to grow up believing the world was kind even when life was hard. He said he had helped because he hoped someone would do the same for her one day. His voice trembled, and for the first time since his wife's death, he felt truly seen. Eleanor listened without interrupting, and something in her expression softened. The walls she had built for years began to crumble. From that moment, the company slowly changed. Eleanor started visiting the warehouse, learning the names of the workers, asking about their families. She discovered that Daniel worked overtime to pay school fees and skipped meals to save money. She learned that many employees were struggling silently just like him. The powerful CEO who once cared only about profits now saw faces, stories, and invisible battles. Daniel's simple act of kindness had forced her to confront the emptiness of her success. She began a program to support single parents at the company, offering flexible hours and childcare assistance. It was not charity. It was responsibility awakened by compassion. For Daniel, life did not suddenly become perfect, but hope entered his days again. Eleanor offered him a promotion, not as a reward for saving her, but because she saw his leadership, honesty, and strength. He trained others, earned more, and came home earlier to read bedtime stories to his daughter. The little girl noticed the change before anyone else. Her father smiled more. He carried less worry in his eyes. The storm that once soaked him in the rain had quietly watered a new future, and Eleanor, once alone in her glass office, now felt connected to the people she had overlooked. Her question the next morning did not just change Daniel's life, it changed her own. Years later, the company became known not only for its success, but for its humanity. Daniel's story spread quietly among workers as a reminder that dignity does not come from titles, but from choices. Eleanor often reflected on that night when she had lost control and gained clarity. She learned that power without compassion was empty, and that the smallest act of kindness could rewrite destinies. Daniel never told his daughter the full story, but he taught her to help others without expecting anything in return. In doing so, he passed on the lesson that saved them both. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment now to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that remind the world that kindness still exists. Before the ending, we have one special request for you. Please comment below what this story made you feel, and whether you believe one small act can truly change a life. The rain that night was never remembered for its cold or its darkness. It was remembered for what it carried into the morning. A question that opened two hearts and a kindness that turned struggle into purpose. Daniel walked into that restaurant as a tired single father, and walked out of that moment as a man who unknowingly reshaped a future. And Eleanor woke up not as a powerful CEO, but as someone finally brave enough to care. In a world that often rushes past pain without looking, their story stands as proof that compassion can be louder than success, and that one simple decision can echo for a lifetime.